So common features of all printers, you're able to adjust the page orientation, which basically if you want landscape or it just escaped me, what was the other name? Either horizontal or vertical paper, you can actually change the resolution itself. Anybody know what correlation means? Correlations in reference to if you want the copies to come out 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or if you want 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So if you set, let's say 10 copies, it'll actually print them so that it comes out in order 10 times. Instead of just printing the first page 10 times and the second page 10 times, it'll actually put it in order for you. Some fancy printers will even staple it for you, depending on how high tech they are. Questions or doubts? The printing test page is a very great feature. So if you want to make sure the printer drivers are good and that everything's working fine, you will print it from here. Why would I want to do that though? Let's say if I'm having problems with a printer, why would I want to come here first versus going to Word or whatever application?
Usually it has a self-test mode, so it can actually test how it displays the ink. It can also give you like maybe some.
That's the printer software. Here, this is something else. Usually, you might get a thing correct, the ink itself. But I'm saying if it's not printing at all, why would I want to come here versus printing directly from Word or Excel? It's not printing at all. Why would I hit print test page from here?
This is usually the. Isn't this usually the software that's linked directly to the printer?
Exactly.
That shows you
so that you want to avoid. That's exactly what you want to do. You want to avoid any other application, any other layer that may be creating the problem. So you want to come in here, which is the direct connection to the printer, and print. If you're able to print from here, now you can go to whatever application that is giving you problems to print, because you have solved the printer problem. The OS and the printer is talking fine. Now you can continue to the next layer. You could say the least intrusive is the word that we're looking for, right? Less intrusive way of testing the printer. If it fails here, then I got to go physically to the printer, right? Or I got to check if it's on the network. I got to check the configuration or whatever it is. Any questions or doubts? All right, let's go on to the next slide. So, can somebody explain to me an impact printer? Who can, who's the brave soul to explain to me an impact printer?
I can do that.
Okay.
All right. So impact printers, they use mechanical pieces to basically forcibly apply like the ink onto the paper.
Okay. You usually transfer through the ribbon, right?
Yes.
Okay. What's its main use? Where is this one used a lot? Location I would find this type of printer, impact printer. Anyone else?
Places does like auditing and invoicing.
Correct. Somewhere where maybe I need multi-part forms or continuous forms, right? Usually that's where we would find these, because it's going to be loud. So it's going to be in a warehouse area. And the main purpose is because I'm going to be beating the living daylights out of this unit, and it's going to be printing a lot. Next one is this thermal printer. Who's our brave soul for thermal printer?
So the thermal printer uses a heated print head to create high quality images.
It's meant for either with a filament that it has there, right? Like a little ribbon, and or the paper is a special paper which you can burn the image onto it, right? Thermally, it transfers the image onto the actual label. Usually these are label printers. where there's going to be, again, high quantity of printing and meant to put it on boxes or other things to label. Key one there is that it has, the majority of them are without a ribbon. Some of them do have a ribbon inside, which is that little thermal ink that's like its own ribbon, which goes through. Our brave soul for inkjet.
It uses ink cartridges. It uses a print head that's attached to a carriage that has a motor that goes from side to side, and it does it in little small dots.
Correct. So it heats up the little thing and melts the dots. Here's a zebra printer from the ones that we just said a moment ago. That's the wheel there in the inside, and it has an extra wheel. You can see how big that wheel is, where the actual extra transfer film is in there. So there's one for the actual white piece of label and an extra wheel just for the actual ribbon that contains the ink. Which is really
Are they
like
mostly used for labels only?
What?
Are the transfer ones usually used for labeling only?
It's a barcode label printer. All these thermal ones are usually barcode label printers. They're meant to print out barcodes or labels. That's their main use, the thermal ones. We'll see here, if you look up thermal printers, right away, all you see is label printer, barcode, shipping label. See? Zebra is one of the main manufacturers of these out there. And these are very good, very expensive, but very good printers. They last, they take beatings. Very good.
Oh yeah.
Laser printer, who can help us out with that one?
Laser printers are more expensive to purchase, but are cheaper to operate. They produce high quality photos and text through electrophotographic imaging, and are non-impact devices that precisely place toner on paper.
Okay. Everyone okay with that? Doubts on the 4 types, more or less? Next slide. Who's gonna help us? Who's coming with me?
Connecting and installing basics. Printers can connect to a local computer or network. Local printers connect through USB, wireless, serial, or parallel ports. Network printers connect through Wi-Fi or Ethernet. Most local printers are plug-and-play compatible. But all requires drivers to communicate with computers. Windows 7 has many drivers built in, or drivers can be downloaded from manufacturer's website.
Anybody? I'm sorry, I didn't notice there was one more time. Go ahead.
So use either 32-bit drivers for a 32-bit OS or 64-bit drivers for a 64-bit OS.
Thank you. Sorry about that. Does anybody know what's a default printer driver that I can use on any laser printer? If I don't have drivers, do we understand what a driver is? What's a driver?
It's a program that tells how the CPU talks to the program or something, or the device. It's programming. I know that. I was running it.
So I'm not sure if I'm understanding exactly what you're saying, but basically it's like a program that helps control a particular device, right? In other words, for the video card, it'll have its own program so that it can tell it, hey, this is how the ones and zeros have to come to me in this language. And it gives him basically the files to be able to talk to that actual device so they can instruct it. If it's a sound card, it needs to understand what's left channel, what's right channel, how to mix things, all that stuff. So each one has its specific set of instructions that can handle the actual interface with the hardware. Without these drivers, we're unable to use anything. So we'll just have only an operating system, and the operating system would not be, which has two parts. It has the shell, which is the GUI interface that we talked to, and then it has the inner layer, which is the kernel. Without the driver, there's no way the shell could talk to the kernel, which then proceeds to talk to the rest of the hardware. There's no way it can actually change it into machine language. So it's useless to you. And there is a default driver for all laser printers to be used, and that's a HP LaserJet 4 usually. If you can't find a driver of any printer that's a LaserJet, try a HP LaserJet 4 driver. It's a very default PCL driver. And usually all of them come in built, because that's the one of the main ones that was from way back when. Otherwise, you need to obviously download the latest and greatest driver according also to your operating system. Even if I get a LaserJet 4, I need to make sure is it for a 64-bit or a 32-bit operating system. If it's not for the right operating system, it's not going to work. Any questions, doubts? My cat's messing with my leg. Sorry about that. All right. So in reference to the plug and play, that is basically it. It's supposedly plug and play. That is only if you physically connect it to it, because if I put it on the network and I'm not searching for it, it will not automatically find it. So I need to go and look for it. There is some features where it goes and it searches the actual network, but sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't automatically work. A lot of the times, though, if you put the USB cable on, it will work. Will it work automatically and detect it if I put it on the parallel port? If I put it on a serial port or a serial or a parallel port of a computer, will the computer automatically plug and play recognize it?
No, usually you have to set those up in a CMOS.
That is correct. Those things do not have an auto sense like USB. Then when you plug it in, it says, "Hey, how you doing? My name is so-and-so. You mind if I come in here? You tell them how I talk now." And that's it. But in reference to the actual printers that are installed on these antiquated ports, the serial port and the parallel port are communication ports. They don't, unless if you tell it to communicate, it will not automatically sense or do anything. And you have to tell it what's there. Next slide, please, which is, I believe, slide 34. Brave souls. Alexa.
Basic logo steps. Plug printer connector into the port or network. Turn on the printer. If installing drivers for manufacturer's program, launch printer setup program, follow directions. If using Windows installation process, open devices and printers in Windows, click add a printer, follow add printer wizard directions, print a test piece.
Thank you. Pretty self-explanatory. Plug it in into the port, turn on the printer. One reason why we don't have the printer usually on before we do any of these things is because for the plug and play, when it turns on, usually it creates it for you much easier. And that's like the order that they prefer, always have the printer off. Obviously, if you're connecting into the network, you could have it on and then just connect to the network. But that's for the computer. Usually they like it in that order. Any questions itself or doubts? What happens if my wizard doesn't want to work? Anybody know what's add printer wizard? What does that mean?
Wizards are usually like pop-up programs that help you, that kind of give you a walkthrough certain.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, okay. So when you add a printer, usually they have, like you said, a little wizard, which is a little GUI interface that helps you recognize the printer and install the printer by itself. At one point, the wizard, though, if it can't search and find it, you need to manually add in there. You're gonna need to go in there and manually add the drivers, or manually select what driver you want from your diskette or from your actual diskette. That just put me in a time frame, didn't it? Or from your CD, not diskette. Or if you have it on your computer itself, you could actually download the driver and point towards the driver so that it can install it. Next slide. Who's our brave soul? You can do it.
Print servers. Hardware is software that manages print jobs sent to one or more printers on a network. Can be a dedicated hardware device with software installed on the computer, programs embedded in firmware on the printer. Embedded firmware printer server can be used to manage print jobs, view printer status, see job history, and check counters. Utilities can be accessed through a browser. Windows Print Management monitors and manages printer queues for all printers on the network. In print management, each computer on the network that shares a printer is considered a print server.
Thank you. Yeah, so as we've seen before, you can actually share a printer, or as I stated before, the printer itself may have its own print server dedicated, which basically from the network, you can go into the GUI of it, and you can see the counters, which are usually, the counters is just like in a motor. The higher the counter, the more miles or pages that it's actually gone through, you can see what's the current life of that printer. The same thing with a job queue. You could actually go in, manage the print jobs itself, and delete print jobs. Majority of the people, though, that are in these IT fields won't go into every single printer. You will usually use the Windows Print Manager, which allows you to monitor and manage the actual print queue. And with ease, you can delete anything that's in the queue. And obviously, you can have one location to share the printer and all the drivers. Any questions itself on this slide? Right. Next slide here, we have overall the steps to share and install printer. We make sure to file and share as and select it. So if I go into printers, I should be able to go into manage my printer. Go into sharing, and I can share this printer. I could either render the print job on the client's computer, or if I want it to be processing on the server, I can let it process onto the server itself. I can add additional, see, I have the 64, I can add the 32-bit, and I can even put the ARM so that it installs it on this print server, which would be my computer itself, all those additional drivers, so that if anybody on the network has a different operating system, with ease, they'll have the actual driver necessary. At the same time, you'll see here, it actually has the port configured automatically, and it allows me to configure the port for the user. Same here, I can actually decide the actual print spool, at what times it's available, the priority of the printer. I can actually change the driver if I want to laser jet 4 or whatever it is that I want. All the settings can actually be set from the actual print server itself. Any questions or doubts? Go on to the next slide. So steps are basically we go into network places and or we go into devices and printers. I like to usually, I'm just too lazy, not laser. That was a pun not intended. I just type printers. Obviously, it is located inside your control panel. Everything that you require to do anything to within Windows is inside your control panel itself. You should be able to with ease come in here and look for your printers. You have obviously by category, which gives you this little view, and you have, I like my big icons. I'm part blind over here. Any questions or doubts? Where to go search for? So here it says network or network places, device and printers. Next slide. Accessing actual queue of the printers. If we go into the printers itself and we look at our actual printer, we can with ease obviously be able to no, that's not it, sorry. In here in the printer queue, you'll be able to pause printing, cancel all documents. Here you can use offline, you can do sharing from here. The same thing, if you have one specific document, you can actually pause that one specific document, restart it, resume, all from here. This is the actual printer queue that allows you to manage all print jobs that are being printed to the printer. So if I need to go and stop something that was printing, this is the place to go to be able to set it up. Also, I could set up who's going to be my default printer. So if this isn't the default printer, with ease, I could just select it. And now whenever I print something, automatically it will go there unless I otherwise specify to Windows that I want to print somewhere else. Questions or doubts? Next slide. Daniel.
Routine cleaning extends printer's working life. Follow manufacturer's directions for device use. Clean outside the printer using a damp cloth, inside with a dry cloth. Never use compressed air. Never use ammonia-based cleaners. Use only safe tools such as toner certified vacuum cleaners and extension magnet brushes. Printer software may contain programs to clean inkjet nozzles as well as calibration and head alignment. Printer maintenance kit, printer specific with step-by-step instructions for cleaning and part replacement. Reset the counter to accurately track wear on parts.
Thank you. So basically, as we see here, the printer maintenance kits, like I stated, says step-by-step instruction. A lot of these things tell you exactly where the part is and where you need to replace it. And you need to, the key thing there is reset those counters, because the counter is the one that's going to tell you when you got to go buy these kits again. So the same thing with the actual inkjet printers. They have a calibration. Some of them automatically, when you actually replace the actual inkjet, will then tell you to press a button according to the alignment. So print out a piece of paper and say, hey, based on this, which one you think is the best quality? And some of them are actually smart enough where they print it out and then they tell you, just scan the image and don't worry about it. I got it from here. I'll decide which one's the best one and I'll calibrate myself. And at the same time, those fancy printers, those inkjet printers, have that feature to actually clean it out and line it. So even though you haven't replaced the actual inkjet or the cartridge itself, it will give you the option to actually realign it and or clean the nozzles, because usually those nozzles, they start getting clogged up with ink. You want to make sure it cleans itself. Questions or doubts? Never use compressed air for you'd be surprised how many people do that. Don't use compressed air. That's gonna have ink in there, right? So the only ones that maybe that you can use compressed air in is the ones with the ribbon, right? Because now I take out the ribbon, I make sure everything's out, and since the impact printers, we said it has those multi-part forms with the little holes, you're gonna get a whole bunch of little circles inside the printer. And that might be one time that you might spray that carriage there, that area, to try to get it out. usually the best thing to do is it has a special little vacuum cleaner that's meant to go in those little crevices and suck all of that stuff out, including, believe it or not, I don't know how, paperclip and staples. Don't ask me. It's multi-part form. I have no idea, but I found it in there. I guess they probably put paper on top of the printer. I don't know how they do it, but they get strange things fall inside these printers. You need to be careful and when you're cleaning them. Never use ammonia-based cleaners. That is very dangerous for printers. I understand, yes, there's ink everywhere, but don't use that. Usually the ink is, or if it is like toner cartridge ink, it's loose. So it's good enough if you just come with that special, it's a special vacuum now. The reason it's a special vacuum is because when it sucks in that toner, it's not gonna throw that air into your face. You grab a regular vacuum, when you suck, just have you seen sometimes the floor is too dirty or whatever it is that you're sucking, it starts throwing a cloud behind you. That's what's gonna happen if you grab a regular vacuum. Very dangerous. Any questions? We're done. Next slide. Lázaro.
Overreaching problem-solving tips. When problems arise, remember to document everything and to start with simple solutions. E.G. Verify that the printer is connected to the computer. You can also use online support by supporting the manufacturer's website. E.G. Update drivers.
That's example.
Huh?
I don't know why, but EG, I know it's example. I have no idea why it's called EG sometimes. EX is example, but EG in English is also example. Somebody knows grammar why it's EG, but that means example.
All right, so example, update device driver, replace parts, additional software, etc.
Pretty much, yeah. So usually we want to document everything as any other problem, right? There usually is, because when you're testing these things or you're replacing printers, make sure you're also documenting what is the actual serial number, everything that you're actually doing with these printers, because then when the service becomes several times or repetitive on these things, we want to make sure we're fully aware of the problems, or at least the attempted fix on these printers. Any questions or doubts? Next slide. Pablo.
Problem-solving strategies, local printer problems. Problems with the printer. Steps to try, verify the printer is on, then try printing a test page. If the test page does not print, use the troubleshooting in Windows to locate the issue. Out of memory error. Steps to try, internal RAM holds print jobs and fonts, so adding extra memory can speed up the performance.
Yeah. Obviously, not all printers have these features, but yeah, some of these printers have internal RAM that you can actually upgrade so that obviously when it starts sending the print to the printer, it's able to hold much more information to process. Any questions or doubts? Next slide, Alexa. Slide 42.
Problem-solving strategies. Network connectivity problem. Verify printer is the default. Check printer's IP address. Verify printer is online. Ping the printer using command line. Reboot the computer. Uninstall, then reinstall the printer. Use diagnostics, utilities, or software.
Thank you. Yeah, as we see there, they go from the least intrusive all the way up to the most intrusive towards the printer. Why would I want to ping the printer?
Want to see if it's communicating, see if it's connected to the network, if it's a network-based printer.
Right. Exactly. I'm checking the printer IP addresses, which is usually on the actual computer where I'm checking, and when I ping it from my computer, now I know if it's actually responding. If I need to go change the IP address or do something, I can go directly to the printer at that point. If I know I'm getting out into the internet, it's not my computer, then it, or the intranet, whichever it is, then the only logical is the actual printer to go and see what's going on with it. Any questions or doubts? Next slide, Carlos.
Problem-solving strategies, shared printer problems, print a test page from local computer, verify correct default printer selected and online. At remote computer, verify the access to the computer to which printer attached, delete printer and reinstall, verify hard drive space.
Why would I need to verify hard drive space?
If it's a shared printer, you have to make sure it actually has enough physical memory and it has a swappable drive, I guess. If the RAM gets too full, you can just swap, right?
No, it's not a swap file. This is actually the spooler. The spooler is a file inside your hard drive, your printer spool. Remember, some of these documents are large that you're printing, so it's got to be able to spool it somewhere and store it. If you choose to spool directly to the printer, and either which way, it's got to go over this server, right? Because that's your print server at that point when you're sharing it. So it gets spooled through it or it gets sent directly towards the other printer. It still needs to come in and store it somewhere temporarily until it's able to print. Make sense? So if you don't have enough hard drive space, then it's not going to be able to store in the print spool the information on the computer. Next slide. Slide 44. DeAndre?
All right. Problem-solving strategies, printing from windows or applications. Delete all print jobs in the printer's queue. Verify correct printers selected and online. Verify cable connections. Stop and reset Windows Print Spooler service. Delete printer and reinstall. Check for updated driver. Try to print to a file. Verify that enough hard drive space is available. Print from safe mode.
Okay. So, anyone know where I can stop and start a print spooler service?
In the queue, the printing queue?
Yeah, how do I stop the print queue?
You have to go into the device manager and then find.
It's actually saying services, so there is a thing inside window called services. Usually you also see it inside the control, for the task manager. You'll see all the services that are up and running. In this screen here, it actually tells you all of the services that you have available, which ones are up and running, if they're automatic or if they're manual. In other words, an application triggers it or you manually start it. If I come in here and I look for print spooler, I can actually stop and start the service. On servers, a lot of the times this print spooler gets stuck. So one of the things that they tell you is just to basically stop the actual service. That'll kill all of the connections. Everybody that's trying to print at this moment, if this was a actual server, has lost connection when it comes to print spooling to the server. I restart the actual service, and now it's back, and all the print spools are available to be able to print. That's a service within Windows to that if it does get stuck and there is problems, sometimes that kind of restarting it will let it clear all the memory and or services and disconnect anything that's stuck, because sometimes it's just a user that's stuck or an application that's trying to print has gotten stuck on the spooler itself. Any questions or doubts on the strategies? Next one, Christina, poor quality.
Or print quality general. Garbled characters on paper. Cancel all print jobs in the queue and try printing a different document from the same application. Print using a different application. Is USB cable securely connected at both ends? Power down printer by pressing a reset button. Update printer drivers. Printer might need servicing. Wrong print colors. Some paper is designed to print on only one side. Try flipping the paper over. Adjust the quality of print. For an inkjet printer, try cleaning the ink cartridges and calibrating the printer. For a laser printer, try calibrating the printer.
Yeah, as I stated before, some of these papers are only meant to actually be used on one side, and some of them are meant to be used with a special film. Either which way, depending on the type of printer, you could have some problems that way. The quality itself is that some people like to print fast, so they lower the quality so that they can print fast, and then they'll come back and start complaining that the detail of it is not good. So just go check and adjust the actual dots per inch that they have decided to a higher resolution. Questions or doubts on either garbled characters or wrong printing colors? Another issue with garbled characters could be that you have several printers installed on the server itself. Someone went into the actual printer and changed the drivers. So that could create a problem where they're still printing to the same printer, but since it's speaking in a different language, it's going to that TCP IP port. And then guess what? Since he's speaking a different language, he's going to spit out exactly what he understands in his language. That's what it means in his language. So there's no translator there. He's receiving ones and zeros, and based on those ones and zeros, that in his language, that's what it means. Questions? Next slide. DeAndre.
Okay. Poor print quality, laser printers. Can be caused by printer drivers, application windows, or your printer. Poor print quality for laser printers. Unplug printer and allow it to cool for 30 minutes. Shake or replace toner cartridge. Econo mode. How you pronounce that?
Econo mode or econo mode, whichever you want to say.
Econo mode. All right. Might be on. Turn off. Paper quality might not be high enough. Printer might need cleaning. Ensure printer does not require routine maintenance. Laser drum might need replacing. Distorted images can be caused by foreign material. If page has a gray background, image drum is worn out and needs replacing. Ghosted images are usually caused by a problem with the image drum.
Yeah, ghosted image is basically that. Just like on a monitor where we had a ghosted image, this could be a ghosted image means that you have the what you really want, but always there's something in the background that's getting printed. A lot of this happens is when they start using these laser printers for creating packing slips instead of using the actual the impact printers. They've now used the laser printer, and they don't care. They'll make the 10 copies or the 5 copies that they need. But obviously the ghosted image starts burning, which is the actual form, right? It has a header. It's got probably the business name in the top, and then it's got that rectangle that comes up and down. So that image per se gets burnt onto the drum from so much continuously only on that section of the drum being utilized, it gets ghosted. The same thing with the gray background. The gray background means that the actual drum is no longer charging it it gets charged and it gets uncharged, right? So it's not releasing the ink. So it's getting stuck with a gray background. Distorted images, as I stated, I don't know how they do it, but they are amazing. Users somehow get paperclip in there. They'll get staples in there. They'll get other pieces of paper in there. I don't know, but I'm surprised I haven't found a banana in these things because they're just amazing on the actual foreign objects that may fall in there.
Diego, you want me to make your day?
Yeah. You found a banana?
No.
Oh.
Better. I found twice. One time a muffin, right inside the paper. You know where you insert the paper?
Yeah.
I found a muffin in there, half
Yeah.
eaten. And I
Yeah.
also found a banana inside the compartment where you have the ink. It was a laser printer. It was fried, the banana. Fried plantain, basically.
Nah, you're joking, bro. You're just making
No.
it up. Now you
No,
just
no.
you just
When you
playing.
work in a hotel at the front desk, you'll be surprised of the
Oh,
employees.
that's a smart idea. Yeah, you put it there because it gets heated up, and by the end of the day, if you don't forget, you have your fried plantain. Yeah, that's a good idea. My dad used to do that but with the cars. He used to put in aluminum foil. He'll put the food and everything, so like that when we drove in like 300 miles, we don't have to stop at McDonald's. We could just go to. I could just imagine the amount of fumes that was in there. I always refused to eat it.
It could be it could be anything. I worked in some very interesting hotels.
I'm
Obviously, it
telling you,
was
they'll
by
come up with anything. They don't care. It's not theirs.
I know how it happened. It's because they get scared of the manager. They hide the food because they're not allowed to eat at the front desk, and they forget. That's
Ouch.
how it happens.
Nice. Well, now we know. And knowing is half the battle. That just reminds me of some movie. I don't know what movie it is. That all of a sudden they start opening everything and there's things everywhere. Next slide. Jordan.
Laser printer problems and solutions. Blank pages, probably out of toner. Try diagnostic print. If not, check power supply. If you have dirty printouts, the fuser is not reaching proper temperature. Clean printer, try using a lighter weight paper. If not, change fuser. If you have ghosting, imaging drum is not fully discharged. Allow some time to cool down or lower the resolution or print in landscape orientation. Vertical white lines, toner is clogged, shake the toner. If not, change it. Blotchy print, uneven dispersion of toner, shake the toner, check fusing rollers, and drum for foreign objects. Incomplete characters, adjust the printer density. Crease pages, restart printer or try different paper type. Crease pages, restart printer or try different paper type. Paper jams, restart printer or follow steps from manufacturer. Pulling multiple sheets, humidity, worn rollers, or too much paper.
Yeah. For pulling multiple sheets, usually it's worn rollers. Highly, most likely is that if you have uh, a printer that's been printing. One other one that too much paper, believe it or not, I've seen it. People put so much paper in there that it doesn't fit in the cartridge. So what happens? As soon as he tries to pull it, he pulls more than one paper because it's so tightly in there that it just comes out. There's more than one piece of paper comes up with the with the roller, and it gets stuck in there. As for following the manufacturer's uh, steps for paper jams, fair warning, I would strongly recommend either reading what it says on their manual, but a lot of these laser printers, when you start opening it up, it tells you. If it's a fancy one, it has like a thing, it says paper jam in spot 3, open this cover, and you see the little picture of the cover that it says, and then it tells you where exactly it sees the jam. Some of them, unfortunately, are not, and they're the cheaper models. Those only tell you, obviously, that it's jammed. If you're lucky, or if not, the paper, you could physically see that it's jammed. And those, any which way, we need to know exactly where the paper is, because if we pull it and we do not do it correctly, and I've seen it, a lot of users start pulling these papers, it breaks inside. So the manufacturer tells you exactly how to take apart or where the levers are that actually releases these certain compartments to allow you with ease to take out the paper jam. So that's the reason why they tell you to follow the steps of the manufacturer. Any questions on blank pages, dirty printouts, ghosting, vertical white lines, blotchy, or any of the other problems within laser printer? Okay, next slide. Justin.
Poor print quality, inkjet, and impact printers. For print quality for inkjet printers, check paper type, check ink levels, remove and reinstall cartridge. Follow printer's documentation to clean each nozzle, clean sponge near cartridge reset. Poor print quality for impact printers, check ribbon, replace if needed, check the print head for dirt, spacing on the printing head might need to be adjusted.
Okay, from here, the one that I would try to explain is the spacing on the print head. Now the impact printers, these inkjet impact printers have a little lever on the side that allows you to actually say how close or how far it's going to be from the actual paper, because the ones that have the ribbon, you need to leave a space so that the ribbon can come through. At the same time, if you have it too far away and the space is too big, when the hammer hits, it will not reach completely the paper. So that's what they mean by adjusting the print head itself and getting it closer. Any questions on either for the inkjet or the impact printers? All right, pretty much now reaching towards the end here. So question number 1. Who's our brave soul here? Christina, you can take number 1 for me, please.
Which type of printer connects directly to a computer by way of USB port, parallel port, serial port, or wireless connection? D, local.
Everyone agree? No? Nobody agrees? Agree, disagree? We all disagree to agree? Hello? They left you out to hang, man, Christina. Look at this. Not a one agrees with you. That's a shame.
I agree.
Hey, we got Lazaro. He's on your side. Look at that, Christina. He was nice enough. Yeah. Awesome. Sorry, guys, I can't see you. The little screen's gone, so I can't see thumbs up. Next one, number 2. Pablo, I guess.
All right. What is the function of a laser in the laser print? Right. It creates an image on the paper film.
It creates an image of the page on the drum, you said? That'll be C. Everyone agree with him? C? Yes, no, maybe so.
I agree.
Cool, cool. All right, let me see. I think I found the little thing now. If I can bring you up here.
What question are we on?
Number 3.
Number 3. All right. And I can see you guys. Number 3. Who is, I guess, Jordan? You were the brave soul to speak. Or DeAndre. DeAndre. Go ahead.
All right, sure. Which type of printer works by placing toner on electrically? I can't speak. Charged rotating drum and then depositing the toner on paper as the paper moves through the system at the same speed the drum is turning.
Mm-hmm. Which one you guys think is that?
Laser.
Laser. I got laser so far. Any other guesses beyond laser? Everyone okay with laser?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that would be laser. Number 4. Jordan.
Yeah, I got like 3 tabs open. All right. If loose toner comes out with your printout, the fuser is not reaching the paper temperature and professional service is required. If loose toner comes out your printout, If loose toner comes out with your printout, the fuser is not reaching the product. That doesn't seem true.
I think it's false.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's false.
Everyone agree?
I agree because it's you would have to like heat it up to even have that come out, right?
The what? I'm sorry on my part here. You would have to what?
I'm saying like wouldn't it like have to like heat up and to reach a certain temperature for the toner to come out?
Well, if we
I think
remember,
it is that the
laser,
fuser is two different parts.
okay, the laser printer is what they're talking about here, right? That's the only one with a fuser, right? So it electrically, negatively, and then positively charges it to throw the ink onto the paper, right? And what did I say? That if the fuser is no good and I go like this, I could actually smudge the actual toner because it's all loose. If I actually lift the paper and I go like that, the toner will come off of the paper because it's not fused on. So since it's not fused on and the printer is not heating up to the correct temperature, it will not iron it on and make it get dried onto that piece of paper. So the fuser's job is to make sure with that hot iron, when it comes through the rollers, it actually heats it up and it sticks on. So that it would be a true statement. If it's not heating up to the proper temperature, the actual toner that's on the paper is loose as a goose.
So the heat is the main component with the fuser rather than the one that actually presses the two pieces or presses the paper together, right?
The fuser has two rollers where the paper goes through and it has the heating of one of which is a very hot while the other one is like a rubber one that's pushing it through. So when it's going in between those two rollers, it gets burnt on to the paper or heated on to the paper. You must melt it onto the paper. Otherwise, it will not get stuck. If it doesn't get hot enough, it won't get stuck. It'll be loose.
Okay.
That's when you know then there's a problem with the fuser. If there's a problem with the actual quality of the image, that would be the drum or somewhere in the laser, something up before it gets actually fused on. But if it doesn't want to stick onto the paper, that's an actual fuser. Number 5. Carlos.
Before replacing an image drum, what should you do first? I chose A, unplug it and allow the printer to go down.
Everyone agree, A?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right. Cool, cool. Awesome. Is there any questions or doubts before we conclude this here?